Hello, hello, hello. We're live again, but I'm doing this on my own, which is a bit weird because usually I go live with Super Sorrel, but I'm live again. So yeah, hey, hello, welcome. Just gonna follow Super Sorrel's footsteps really, and I thought I would jump on and do a live unboxing instead of doing the regular kind of review videos and stuff like that. Hello, Tac Tac Toys, good to see you. Yeah, so I basically started to pick up the Masterverse figures last year, I think it was 2023, but never really got around to opening them, never got around to kind of putting them out or anything like that. I was just kind of deciding on where I wanted my collection to go with them. And they've hit the shelves, like they're starting to get really really discounted, so you can pick them up quite cheaply if that's your kind of thing. I mean, for me, He-Man was one of those collections that I had as a kid. I was a big He-Man fan as a kid, so when I saw the Masterverse figures, I was like, yeah, I'm going to get on board with this at some point. But being a big collector of He-Man figures when I was a kid, it seemed like an obvious kind of decision to pick them up at some point. So yeah, so I'm not sure where they're going to go in my collection, but I'm gonna do a kind of He-Man setup, I think, in my collection somewhere. So I'm going out across a few different platforms, so I'll try to keep up the comments where I can, but I've got them flashing up on different screens here, so I will keep up with comments where I can. But I've got a handful of them. I've got what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 figures in total to open. So yeah, we'll just go through them and we'll take a look at them as we go. So the first one is Sunman. So this was part of the 40th anniversary release. Now Sunman's got quite a rich history with Master of the Universe line. I'm not going to go into great details about his origins and stuff, but he's well worth kind of reading up about because he was originally created to be a superhero, like representation superhero for African Americans. So he was definitely one that I wanted to pick up. Triple G Comics, how you doing? Nice to see you. Thanks for joining. But yeah, so this one, again, I think you can pick him up on Amazon in the UK for like £5 or £6. It's not very expensive to pick up now. If you obviously go through some of the retailers, it's a little bit more expensive. But now, where did I put my knife? There we go. Now, I'm an out of box collector anyway, so keeping the boxes isn't something that that bothers me. I'm not bothered too much about the boxes. Yeah. So there we go. But these figures are pretty cool. I mean, they're, you know, like I said, they're heavily discounted in a lot of places. So you can pick them up quite cheaply if it's a line that you want to get into. But I think they're quite good toys. I think they're quite good action figures. There's, you know, there's quite a bit of detailing. There's accessories. There's weapons and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, let me just push these out of the way. I don't want to knock anything else over. I've got loads of stuff kind of out on my desk just to the side of me, and I didn't really think this through before jumping on. But there we go. So first of all, he's got his little spear thing, which is quite cool. Comes with 2 alternate hands. Comes with an extra open palm hand and an extra fist hand. So you can swap those around if you want. Of course, he comes with his shield. Now the shield isn't a clip-on shield. It's got an actual little a little kind of bit that you put his hand through, his arm through, so that's going to be quite fiddly. And he's got his wings. So let's see if I can get him out of the box without making too much noise. Now, annoyingly, I've got loads of plastic on them. Ah, it's noisy. There we go. He's out. He's out. Wow, this is not plastic-free packaging, is it? That's an interesting one because I actually didn't mind the plastic-free packaging that Hasbro started to produce. Anyway, here we go. Mattel's Sunman. So the articulation on him is pretty cool. It's got that kind of click, as you can hear when he moves his arms around. So it's nice and tight. The joints are all nice and tight. There's quite a lot of articulation on the wings. You can move them around and you can move them up. So obviously if you want to have them in your display, you can have those wings kind of right out. Let's just get it out there. So you can have them right out. And yeah, it's pretty good representation of what Sunman looks like. I think that's a pretty cool figure altogether. Let's just put these in more of a kind of posable position. There we go. So that's Sunman. So of course he's got two gripping hands. Now these are massively different to what they look like back in the day. Triple G, not a character I'm familiar with. Yeah, he is a newer character. As I said, I mean, he was created originally. Now, if I've got this right, do correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he was created by someone's mum for representational benefits. Obviously, wanted to have more representation in action figures and in superheroes and stuff, and so therefore Sunman was created. But it's not a character that was huge on my collection. I didn't have an original Sunman, so I thought when I saw him at discount, I was like, yeah, I've got to get a hold of him. So yeah, he's worth looking up. But he's a cool character. Just trying to get his hand in. Now this is fiddly because, as you can see, you've got to kind of get the shield in and the hand, which is not the easiest. So I'm going to mess around with that at another time, I think, because otherwise the whole live will be me just trying to get the shield on, which is not going to be fun. So there we go. But there we go. All in all, Sunman. So to get like a 6-7 inch action figure with a bunch of accessories for like £6 isn't too bad. But there we go. So that's Sunman. So that's the first one. Now, usually I'm quite careful when I come to unboxing my figures and looking at them and stuff, and I've got a feeling this is going to get messy. But let's move on to the next one. Now, this is a character that I'm familiar with. Too Bad. So this is one of the villains from New Eternia. It's Too Bad. Obviously, it says there, Master of the Universe, New Eternia. Character that I remember having as a kid, and the artwork on these boxes is really, really cool. So there's a nice kind of illustration on the back, and then it shows a handful of the other figures that came in that wave. And again, this one comes up relatively cheap, so you can pick this one up for about £15, I think it is, depending where you look. I think Amazon sell them for about £16. I don't know why. I don't know why the line has kind of suddenly lost so much value, but if you're a fan of He-Man or fan of Masters of the Universe, now's a great time to get into the line, because I mean it's a cool figure. It's a modern take on obviously the old version of what the characters look like. It comes with a whole bunch of accessories. So you've got like a little pew pew. You've got 2 different maces. So you've got like a pink one. Now, what I do like about this line is that they've kind of stayed true to the kind of solid coloured weapons. So instead of kind of making them all modern looking and kind of realistic, they've kind of stayed true to the flat colours that we had in those original 80s toys. There's the other mace there as well. You've got an axe, which got a load of detail. Let's see if I can get it up to the camera. Load of detail in that axe. 2 different heads. One's like a griffin and one's a dragon. And the wings are obviously the axe. That's very cool. Got another shield. Got 2 more alternate hands. So we got a fist hand for both versions, like both sides of him. So that's pretty cool. Now, one thing that is a bit rubbish about these boxes is they've got those silly little kind of plastic ties. So you've got to make sure you get them all off, because I didn't do that with Sunman and it was a mission to get them out. So I'm going to cut these ones out and have a look at the actual figure. Now, Too Bad was one of those characters when I was a kid absolutely love. As a kid, having a figure, a character that kind of had two heads and two personalities and two colors and all that kind of stuff was very, very cool. Now these come kind of posed in the box, so let's get them back to kind of neutral. Let's just have a look. There we go. He's got the signature kind of He-Man pants. He's got a belt as well, so the belt is obviously where the gun goes, so we can put that in there. He's got a thing across his back as well, so we can put one of the maces or one of the axe or something across the back there. So I'm going to stick the axe in there just so we can. I think the axe goes in there. Yeah, the axe goes in there. Right, it's on there. He's got shield as well, which is quite cool. And then he's got the two maces. So I'm going to put a mace in each one of the hands. So this might not be how I actually pose them, but yeah. And when it came to picking this line up, I just kind of started grabbing the figures that grabbed my attention, either figures that I remember having as a kid, or figures that just kind of looked quite good. In some man's cases, obviously it was just good value for money. Let's have a look. Right, that's it. I'm going to need to heat that one up. But there we go. Too bad. So there's articulation in both the heads, so you can obviously get them looking at each other and talking to each other like they did in the cartoon. The detail on him is really good. Like the scales on the purple side are all sculpted. There's no kind of painted detail. Everything on him is sculpted, which is really nice. Compared to some of the other lines that have kind of painted details on them, everything on him there is sculpted. So that's definitely a good figure, a good value for money, I think. And it's a bulky figure as well. They've not kind of cheaped out on it. It's a nice bulky figure. So yeah, so there's Too Bad. Now, next one in the line is a figure that is a little bit more familiar. It, of course, is the Deluxe Beastman. Beastman was one of my favorites. This is part of the 40th anniversary. I don't know if you can see there as well. It's got the 40th anniversary sign. And again, on the back, it's got a couple of different ones. You've got the modern He-Man. I say modern, it still came out in like the 90s. Zodiac, the more modern Skeletor, and Catra as well. All cool figures. But yeah, Beastman was one of my favorites because remember back in the day, the original Beastman was proper furry. And yeah, it was one of them ones that you played with it in the garden or you played with it in the bath or whatever, and it just got absolutely ruined. I don't know anyone that had a Beastman that kind of kept it nice. But yeah, the artwork on the back, Triple G Comics, just saying there in the comments, loves the artwork on the back. The artwork on the back of every single one of these boxes is absolutely stunning. I think they credit the artist. I'm not sure. I'm going to have a check. But I'm sure you could find out who the artists are. But they are all very good. But there we go, Beastman. Now, the thing that I do like about this, like I said, the original Beastman was all made of fur. And on this particular one, the deluxe one, he's got like a furry colour. So there we go. Tac Toys, I got Beastman as a gift from Dan Who in the run up to Christmas, and it's great. Yeah, this is really great. I mean, I think again, this one you can pick up now for quite cheap. I don't think it's overly expensive now to pick up. So again, if it's one of them ones that interest you, grab it now while you can. I think there's certain characters. There are definitely certain characters in the Masters of the Universe line that most collectors will be familiar with, and Beastman is definitely one of them. He's got two alternate hands, like little thumbs up hands. They're pretty cool. He's got a huge mace. Now, opposite to what I just said about Too Bad, they have kind of added detail to this particular one. So there's a little bit more detail on this one. Makes it a little bit more kind of realistic, but I like it. No complaints there. He's got his kind of lasso grappling hook kind of weapon as well, with a real bit of rope, which is very cool. Triple G comment says that he's got the Mondo Beastman on order. I can't wait to get him. No, that one looks really, really cool. I was tempted, but I think for the sake of having a Master of the Universe collection, these ones were just an easy win for me. There's his kind of original chess piece. Look, just tearing them open, and there he is. So he's got a removable helmet, as you can see. It just sits on his head, so you can have him with the helmeted look, and then he's got this removable fur piece as well. Just awesome, really awesome. Like no painted details on there at all. Yeah, none at all. He's a very solid looking figure. And there's a little pouch there at the back, so you can put, I think, what can we put in there? You can put his grappling hook in the little pouch at the back, or his lasso thing. Trying to see how this comes off, because I wouldn't mind seeing. Oh, there we go. There's a little clip on the back, and that just opens up, and then that just comes out. That's where I'm going to break it, isn't it? Like on a live stream. I'm just being a bit heavy-handed with it here. So this is where normally, if I was doing a review video, I would check out how this all works before attempting it. But we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. But yeah, the fur's there. The fur's attached to him. Oh, no, hang on. I think I've got it. No, I don't want to break him. We'll come back to him. I quite like the big one anyway. But I did want to just try that kind of original one on him. But yeah, Beastman, very cool figure. Viz in the chat just said, any plans on getting the Transformers legacy figures or the Studio Series figures? To be honest with you, Transformers again is another one that I collected loads of as a kid, but I haven't actually got that many. I've got a couple. I'm currently building the fan home Optimus Prime, and that's kind of fulfilling my Transformer fix, shall we say. So I'm not kind of desperate to get any at the moment. And the Transformer line is just so huge that I don't know if I'd want to get into it yet. I'm going to jump down to this one. Another villain, Spycore again. Another one that's like classic kind of Master of the Universe villain. And on the back there, you can see that it's again an awesome piece of artwork. And all the kind of main players at the bottom there. You got He-Man, Skeletor, Man at Arms, Teela, Beastman, and obviously Spycore as well. You know what? I actually picked up more villains than I did good guys, good girls. I think I actually had more villains as a kid. The one thing I'm disappointed about this line is they haven't made the playsets yet. They haven't kind of made, from what I know, they haven't made a Castle Grayskull or a Snake Mountain, and that would be very, very cool indeed. Now he comes with his kind of Wolverine-esque claw. That's a interchangeable hand, so you can swap his hand over. Comes with two alternate hands as well, so you've got two closed fist hands there as well. Let's get I'm running out of space on the desk next to me, so I should have cleared that out really before I started this, but hey ho, you live, you learn. So rip those open. Here he is. This feels very much more like an original He-Man figure. It's a very similar kind of body shape. The armor has got all the same kind of connecting bits underneath the arms. I need to just kind of find where the articulation is. I don't want to break him. It doesn't feel like it's there. No. Oh, I'm going to break him, aren't I? I'm going to break him. Oh no, there we go, got him. But yeah, he's like, the boots are the same as the original Master of the Universe figures. The kind of pants, the belt. Yeah, he's just a very cool updated version of that classic kind of figure. He comes with his mace. I'm going to put his mace in his hand, because one thing as a kid, I was actually quite good at keeping all the weapons together. I had a big box that I just used to throw all the weapons into, and I'm kind of getting those 80s vibes from where I was collecting before. When I was collecting as a kid, I'm kind of getting the same vibes and thinking, actually, I'm going to throw all my weapons in a big tub. Let's just put his spike hand on. There we go. Yeah, that looks like the figure. I just can't get his hand open to get this weapon in. Now, obviously, the He-Man figures, there's a huge amount of things available. Like, there's the original line. There's obviously these Masterverse figures. I think I went for the Masterverse figures instead of the kind of Origins line, just because they're kind of scale with the other 6-7 inch figures that I collect. Being a big collector of Marvel Legends, Diamond Select, a couple of NECA here and there, these kind of just fit in with my collection more. So like my overall collection, and to have all of the figures in my collection kind of the same sort of scale was a big kind of win for me. So there we go. There's Spycore completed. I think he's my favorite so far, just because he feels very much like a modern version of what I had. So yeah, he's my favorite. Now, the next one of my favorites as a kid. Absolutely loved this one. Now, this is a bit, I've mixed it up a little bit here, and I've just realized that I've mixed it up a little bit, because this version is from oh no, Spycore as well was Revelation. Okay, so this is the Revelation version of Merman. I loved Merman as a kid. Absolutely loved him. I don't know why. I really don't know why. But he was one of my favorites as a kid. And yeah, when I saw him, I was like, yep, got to have him. So at the moment, this is the 4th bad guy to 1 good guy. Sunman being the only good guy that I've opened so far. And I know for a fact I've got 1 more bad guy. I've actually only picked up He-Man as a good guy. He-Man and Sunman. But here we go, Merman. Now he comes with a whole bunch, 4 alternate hands, 2 weapons. He's got his trident and his sword. And yeah, the reason he's got 4 alternate hands is 2 of them are like the webbed hands. So we've got like the webbed version of his hands if you want to have him swimming. Not something we had the option for back in the 80s. So I appreciate that very much. We've got his sword, which I think is based on Revelation, because I don't remember that as a weapon when I was a kid. He's got 2 closed fist hands, which we're not too bothered about. But yeah, this is a decent line for the price point they are. This is a pretty decent line. There's his trident. Nice detail on that. Let's actually get him out of the box. Now, come on, Merman. I don't know how noisy this is for you guys, but this is very noisy here. I hate boxes. Hate boxes. Right, here we go. Here's Merman. So he's a little bit different than Spycore, as in he's got more of a more updated, modern look to him. But again, it's all sculpted detail. It's not painted detail, which I really do appreciate. I think that's a really nice touch. Here he is with his trident, and he's pinless as well. So Hasbro has obviously gone down the lines of pinless technology with some of their figures, but they still have pins on others. He's pinless. They're actually all pinless. which I've only just picked up on. So yeah, Pinless figures, which is pretty cool. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with these in regards to setting up a display and action figure photography. Action figure photography is something I enjoy doing when I get the time. There's some amazing artists out there that do some phenomenal things with the photographs and stuff. But having a new line of figures to play around with, I'm gonna have some fun with this. But there he is. There's Merman. I think he's my favorite so far. Just as a kid, I just loved him. I don't know why. I really wish I knew why, but yeah, he's cool. All right, mate. There we go. Merman has re-entered my collection. That's pretty cool. So what we got there? We got Beastman, we got Spycore, we got Too Bad, we got Merman, and we got Sunman. So let's open the last of my villains, and of course it is the man himself, Skeletor. However, it's the Revelation version. It's not the original version. It's the Revelation version. And the reason I went for this one is because he looked enough like the original one, but a bit more modern. So this is based on the Netflix show that came out recently. So I might pick up the original one. Yeah. Oh, and on the back here, I need to get Evil Lyn, and I need to get Mossman. Mossman was another one that was made out of like fuzzy kind of material back in the 80s. Him and Beastman just, yeah, they got dirty with playing. But yeah, I'm thinking about picking up a Castle Grayskull to use as a diorama piece. So this Skeletor comes with 2 alternate hands. Now, because this is based on the Netflix show, he's got his fingernails painted. Not painted as in he's had them done before the fight, but they're painted to kind of match the look of the figure. This is an accessory that, of course, we didn't have back in the 80s. This is all to do with the TV show. So if you're a fan of the Revelation TV show, then you'll know what this is. And then it is, of course, Skeletor. He's got a really awesome version of his staff. Now, the thing that's annoyed me, though, is he hasn't come with a sword. It's annoying. He had that purple sword back in the day. It was basically, back in the day, he was just a purple version of He-Man, near enough, with a different head. I mean, obviously, all the figures back in the 80s were built on the same mold, near enough, apart from a few of the more unique ones like Mossman and Beastman and stuff, but they were all kind of built on the same mold. And yeah, Skeletor was basically just a purple version of He-Man with a skull, like a squeaky head. Viz in the comments, Master Universe, G.I. Joe and Transformers have a lot of 80s vibes to them. Yeah, and they're 3 lines that I did pick up as a kid. I kind of got into G.I. Joes for a little while, but yeah, they didn't really hold my attention. There was just so many of them. But yeah, this is a pretty decent Skeletor. Again, it's all sculpted. He's got a soft goods cape. I don't think he's going to end up being my main Skeletor. I think I'm going to have to go for like an Origins version, just because he doesn't quite do it for me. But yeah, he's all right. He looks all right. I actually think I picked up the first ones of these lines after the Revelation show came out originally, and that's probably why I've got the Revelation version of Skeletor and maybe He-Man. I don't know. He's pretty cool. He's okay. He's not bad. You know who he is. If he's on your shelf and someone saw him, they're not gonna mistake him for anyone else. Skeletor is pretty distinctive as to who he is. And a proper bad guy as well. Like back in the 80s, we had like proper bad guys in the TV shows. You know what I mean? It was like there wasn't any kind of underlying story that would make him a good guy or opportunity to redeem himself. Like he was just a bad guy, you know. Another line that I really wish they did kind of to this extent would be Thundercats. And I know you can get Thundercats through various different other brands, but they're more expensive, and is it Super 7 that's done the Thundercats? I don't know, but I wish there was like an affordable Thundercats line alongside these ones. But yeah, there we go. There's Skeletor. Pretty cool. Like, he is what he is. I'm not too sure about this cape. It's a little bit whimsical, but it does the job. You know, on the shelf it'll look fine. So let's get to man himself. This is, of course, He-Man, based on the Netflix Revelation TV show, and he does have his sword. Oh, that's interesting. On the others, there wasn't. Yeah, so on the others, there's just a nice bit of artwork, which is cool. But on the back of He-Man, there's a little blurb, which is interesting. It says, Defender of the Castle Grayskull, Protector of the Planet Eternia, and Guardian of the entire universe. There is nobody stronger, faster, or braver than the mighty He-Man. He is quite simply the most powerful man in the universe, past, present, or future. That's something to put in your Tinder profile, isn't it? A vessel for the mysterious power of Grayskull, He-Man inspires the heroes of Eternia to fight the forces of evil. Without He-Man, Eternia and the universe would be doomed. If you didn't want to collect He-Man toys after reading that, what would inspire you to do it? But yeah, this is He-Man. He-Man based on Revelation. Now, the thing that I liked about this one is that even though it's not the Origins version, it looked enough like He-Man from the 80s. Now, they have gone on to obviously do the 40th anniversary one since I picked this one up, with the more kind of 80s inspired head. So I think I'll probably get that one out at some point. But yeah, right, he comes with 2 alternate hands, which is cool. I always like an alternate hands. There's 2 alternate hands there. Comes with his signature looking shield. That's just a He-Man shield, isn't it? Let's be honest. Like, if you see that, you know it's He-Man. They've stayed true to that. One of the best swords ever. This to me is just sort of ingrained in my brain. This and the Thundercat sword of omens. Yeah, very cool indeed. And here he is. Interesting, this one wasn't packaged the same as the others. He had like a little clamshell over the top. But there we go. But yeah, this is a decent enough He-Man. I mean, okay, the face is a little bit different to obviously the classic looking one, the Origins looking one, but there is nothing wrong with this one at all. He's got a little bit more of a modernized face, but the costume is all what it should be. He's got those kind of furry pants, furry boots, the signature kind of metal thing. And it's mad, isn't it? Like that this was the superhero look in the 80s for us kids. You know, this totally ripped, totally buff guy in furry boots and a little bit of chainmail. But man, we loved him. Right, I'm going to change his hand over so that he can hold his sword. Again, no painted details. It's all sculpted on, which is really nice. And he's all pinless, which again is another nice detail. But yeah, there we go. He-Man. He-Man. Much easier to put his sword and shield on, but that's making the kid in me very happy, because that's He-Man. That's an affordable He-Man figure. Now, I know there are loads out there. There really are loads out there. But to tie in with this Masterverse line, I wanted to pick up a Masterverse version. And yeah, I'm very happy with that. Not disappointed with that at all. Next to Skeletor. There we go. He-Man and Skeletor. This isn't doing it for me. I'm gonna have to pick up a different version of Skeletor. He's a cool version, but yeah, I think I might keep these 2 as the Revelation versions and kind of put them to the side, and then I'm gonna have to pick up the Origins versions. But either way, very affordable, very cool looking. Now, what is He-Man without his? You know, there's 2 characters that I think of when I think of He-Man. Like, think of He-Man as a character, and I've got them both in these last 2 boxes. So the first one Yeah, let's do this one first. So this is Savage He-Man. Now, originally I picked this up to do a custom. I wanted to use this body for a custom, but I decided to keep him. But it's Savage He-Man. Of course, Orko. Orko was his kind of... I don't know what Orko was. I really don't. Not really sure what Orko was, to be perfectly honest with you. Now this, it says here on the back, there's a bit of a blurb on the back as well. It says, Savage He-Man, the most powerful primate in the universe. For years, it was assumed that Prince Adam could only call upon the power of Grayskull using the Sword of Power. But what happens if he did not raise aloft his magic sword and still said by the power of Grayskull? The answer, Savage He-Man, a combination of primal rage and all the power of the universe. He-Man tears through Eternia in an uncontrollable rampage, leaving his friends hoping that Adam is in there somewhere. So this is basically He-Man without the sword, which is quite cool. I wasn't overly familiar with Savage He-Man, but that's pretty cool. Orko, I don't know what Orko was. Does anyone actually know what Orko was? He was kind of the comic relief, like that's what he was there for, wasn't he? But he was a good friend of Prince Adam and of course He-Man. So getting an Orko figure seemed like a must-have. Now this is Orko based on the Revelation version, so it's not as true to the look of Orko as the 80s, but I think I'll pick one up if I can. If I get the opportunity to, I will definitely pick up an Orko figure that's a little bit more 80s. This is going to be very difficult to get this one out because he's got tiny little arms. Let's just see if I can actually get this. Might actually be easier. There we go. But it's still an Orko. It's still an Orko for my collection, for my display. So I'm not complaining. But that's it. He is on a little flight stand. There's a little bit of articulation on that flight stand. You can kind of move it forwards and backwards. And there's a little bit of articulation inside, but he doesn't come off of it by the looks of it. But he's all right. There's no articulation in his arms. You can move them around. They're on like ball joints, so you can kind of move him around and you can move his head around a little bit. But he does the job. It's Orko. Look, it's Orko. I just want to know what he is. Looking at him as an action figure, I kind of want to know what he is. Now, the 80s version of Orko was really cool. I don't know if anyone in the chat remembers, but he was basically on like a pull string. And you'd put him on the ground and you'd pull the, not string, it was like a plastic, I don't even know what they're called, but it's a long piece of plastic with like lots of teeth along it and then a ring pull at the end. And you'd put it in him and you'd pull it out and it would spin something in him and he would kind of go all crazy across the floor and do like an Orko-esque move. Obviously this version doesn't do it. He just sits on his little flight stand. But he was one of my favorites and I had him for years and years. So yeah, I'm happy with this one. This one will do. You can kind of get him into some different poses, so he'll look all right on the display. Look, he's like, argh. So yeah, there we go. And then Savage He-Man. So Savage He-Man comes with 2 alternate hands, which are gripping hands. You don't need to look at those. There's actually, we will look at them because there's a little bit of a wash on them, so you can tell that they're different than regular He-Man hands. And then if I just get this one in. But I definitely don't, I think this is definitely a line that I'm not finished with. I think I'm definitely going to be picking up some more from this line because they're affordable, they're fun, and they'll make a pretty good collection. So Savage He-Man comes with an axe. Got his axe there. He also comes with the power sword as well. So I've now got 2 of these power swords, which is cool. And they pretty much are exactly the same. So there's no difference there, but I've got a spare, so I can do something fun with that. Power of Grayskull. Cool if that works, wouldn't it? He also comes with a cool spear. And then you've just got basically naked He-Man. So it is naked He-Man with long hair. Yeah. No qualms about it. It is just naked He-Man. Naked He-Man with a spear. So yeah, so I was going to use this for a Marvel Legends custom because, let's be honest, if you're a Marvel Legends collector, you know exactly who this looks like. The whole Savage Lands set is so hard to come by now, but that is pretty much, what's his name? Totally forgot his name. Someone can remember his name, that'd be great. But it's pretty much exactly the character from the Savage. I've totally forgot it now. Totally forgot it. Never mind. It will come to me. It will come to me. Can even put Beastman's hat on him. Look. But yeah, I picked up that set for Orko. I'm not going to lie. This, like I said, this was, to me, this was fodder. This was going to be a custom fodder. But now that I've got him, I think I'll just kind of put him at the back of my display, holding his spear. So there we go. So that's all the figures. So I've got Savage Land He-Man, I've got He-Man, I've got Sunman, and I've got Orko. So they're the kind of good guys that I've picked up. And then in the bad guys, I've got Spycore, I've got Merman, I've got Beastman, I've got Too Bad, and I've got Skeletor. So at the moment, I've definitely got more bad guys than I've got good guys. But there's one more figure that I picked up, so I can do one more very quick unboxing. This was a absolute must for me when I saw it, and it was really, really cheap. But of course, it is Battle Cat. Battle Cat is... he's just one of them characters, isn't he? It's just one of them characters that he was just cool. And I can never remember the name of Skeletor's purple cat that he rode, but yeah, back in the 80s, we didn't even question it. It was kind of like we had Battle Cat that was painted up like Battle Cat, and even that was a mold that was reused from something else. If you actually look it up, it was used for something else, and they repurposed it as Battle Cat, and then they repurposed it as Skeletor's version, and it came with the same armor, just in a different color, but Battle Cat. And there's some brilliant artwork on the back there, if I can just get it into frame. Some absolutely brilliant artwork. That in itself would be a really cool poster, but unfortunately, because it's on a box, I'm not going to be able to do anything with it. Now, this again is a Revelation version, so based on the Netflix series, but it's Battle Cat at the end of the day, so I had no qualms picking up this version of him. And he's a big figure. He's a big figure, and I think you can pick him up for about 16 quid nowadays. Like I said, the line has really, I wouldn't say lost value, but gone down in value at least. They're definitely a lot more affordable. But yeah, this is a hefty, articulated Battle Cat. That is very cool. Man, if I'd known as a kid that all those years later I would still be opening new He-Man figures, I wouldn't believe it. But there's certain lines, He-Man, Ninja Turtles, Thundercats, Mask as well, if any of you remember Mask, Transformers to an extent, Centurions, Visionaries. There's a whole bunch of lines that I collected as a kid that, yeah, I feel like I need to kind of get back into if I've not already done so. So here is Battle Cat. He's got a lot of articulation. So he's got kind of like a little bit of articulation in the top of the legs, and then 1, 2, 3 points of articulation in each of the legs, which make him quite an articulated figure, to be fair. Tail does the same thing the 80s one done and doesn't articulate at all. And then you've got the same kind of ways to take his saddle off. Now, the helmet, however, just unfolds like that. And then you've got Cringer, which was obviously the name of him before he transforms into Battle Cat. But he's got a bit of articulation there. He's got 2 points of articulation in his neck, and his mouth opens and closes. I don't even know how I want to display him. I don't know if I want to display him as Cringer or as Battle Cat. I think it's got to be Battle Cat, really, hasn't it? It's got to be Battle Cat. So there we go. That just sits on his head, and he just becomes Battle Cat. And essentially, you can just get your He-Man figure and sit him on top. Let's actually have a look and see how well He-Man sits on top of him. Even though I won't be posing him on top of him, it's always good to see. So yeah, I need to have a bit of a play around with that, because that does not look comfortable at all. But you can see the size difference. Like, it is in scale. It's a big figure. It's a big kind of accessory to have. But to have your He-Man and your Battle Cat next to each other, it's just got 80s vibes all over it. Look at that, 80s vibes all over it. A massive green tiger with a face mask, and a muscly man in furry pants and boots with a big sword. Happy days. So there we go. So that is all of the figures that I picked up, unboxed, all within 45 minutes, which isn't too bad. Saved me a lot of time, from rather than kind of sitting there going through them all and doing kind of figure reviews. I'm not sure whether I'm going to stick to this format or whether I'm going to do it a different way, but I do appreciate everybody that's jumped in on the comments. I haven't got to all of them. I've tried to get to them where I can. But yeah, it's a decent line. It's a decent line. Invincible in the chat said, "What is my favorite figure? Do you mean in this line, or in general, or just recently?" Because that's quite a vast question. If you mean in this line, I think the one I'm most pleased with is the standard He-Man figure, because it hits all the 80s vibes. My favorite character from when I was a kid was Merman, but I think the best value for money, without a doubt, is Battle Cat. That makes sense. But if you mean favorite figure, okay, favorite figure in general, I've got a few, to be fair. I have a few different favorite figures. My favorite figure of last year, behind me there, is the Hot Toys Moon Knight figure. It's just absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. My favorite figure recently that I picked up was the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, the unmasked version, just because I absolutely love those films. But yeah, I've got quite a lot. But my favorite figure from last year was definitely that Moon Knight behind me. But yeah, there we go. So back to Masters of the Universe, Battle Cat and He-Man, awesome pair. That's going to look absolutely fantastic on the display. I don't think they did the purple one for Skeletor in this line. I don't think they've done it yet. I'm going to go and have a little bit of a look now and see what else is available. I think the characters that I'm definitely going to have to pick up is Teela, Man at Arms, Evil Lynn, was it Roboto? I think was his name. There was an episode with Roboto, and I remember because he was evil originally, and then Orko did something and made him good, and then he became like part of the good guys team. And I watched that episode so many times that I can see it in my head now. So I need to get him. I'd like Mossman as well. Who else should we get? If there's any characters that you think that I need to pick up for this line, let me know. Because there's so many. There are so many out there. But it's a decent little collection so far. As I said, I'm kind of debating picking up like an original 80s Castle Grayskull and using that as like a backdrop piece in my display, and then having these guys kind of around it, just because I think it would look quite cool. And then there would also be a little bit of nostalgia in there as well. I actually, about 10 years ago, maybe a little bit, about 10 years ago, I kind of jumped in really deep and went back and collected all of the old He-Man figures, as many as I could anyway. And I picked it all up. I had Snake Mountain, I had Castle Grayskull. It was literally to the extent where I needed the Eternia playset, but that one was so super rare at the time that I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm jumping out of this line. And I displayed them, and it just didn't do it for me really. But there we go. So there's Merman. We got Savage He-Man as well. He's pretty cool. As I said, not really a character I'm overly familiar with, but it's He-Man at the end of the day. It's just another version of him. Spycore, I think he's the most authentic to the original look with everything he comes with. I can't get over the fact that their heads aren't squashy. That's the one thing, because obviously back in the day, their heads were all really squashy on these figures. But I think he's quite authentic to what he was. Skeletor, he's okay. This is the Revelation version, and yeah, I need to get a kind of a more authentic original version of Skeletor, but he'll do. He'll be a good stand-in until I do. Too Bad is definitely a cool version, like definitely a cool figure. There's no two ways about that. Just a whole bunch of accessories and just a nice chunky figure. So I'm liking Too Bad. Orko, even though it's the Revelations version, still a decent Orko for the collection, and happy with that. Very happy with that. So Orko's good. We'll keep Orko. Sunman was a nice little kind of addition, just because he was really cheap, and one of those characters just adds a whole bunch of different colors to it, like all the yellows and the reds. We've not got that in any of the other characters, so he really stands out with the yellows and greens and stuff. So I'm glad that I've got him. And then last but not least, of course, we've got the deluxe kind of Beastman as well. And I'm glad that he's chunkier. So it's not really as authentic to the original line, but I'm glad that they've made him chunkier. The head is actually, if I put it out to the camera, the head is actually not far off what it looked like back in the day. So yeah, I like that, and the fur as well. I'm liking it. It's hitting those nostalgic vibes. And then I've got a whole bunch of accessories now as well, which is really cool. So yeah, so there we go. Anyway, thank you very much for tuning in and listening to me just talk about He-Man and just have a look at these figures as I go. I might stick with this format, not sure. With things that come in, I think I'll probably do this with some of the hot toys that come in, just because there's so much within the box. It makes it easier to do it as a live video as opposed to like a recorded review. But we'll see. This was a good little test, following my friend Super Sorrel's footsteps. If you don't follow Super Sorrel already, go and give him a follow over on YouTube or TikTok. He's a really cool figure reviewer and general nice guy. But yeah, so thank you very much for, of course, tuning in. I do appreciate it. Thank you for commenting and asking questions and stuff. I do apologize I didn't get to all of them. But yeah, there we go. I think that's about it. How many figures? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 figures in what we got? 50 minutes. Not bad going. Anyway, thank you very much. Of course, do all the stuff, like, follow, share, subscribe, all of them things. And do tune in tomorrow night. We are doing the Geek Week with myself and Super Sorrel. It's episode 133 tomorrow. We have another special guest as well, so that will be a lot of fun. Anyway, thank you very much. I will see you all soon. Take care. Bye.